Hello and good morning to our listeners from around the world. I want to welcome you to another edition of This Morning with Solivity, broadcasting live from our studio right here in Washington, D.C., and on KMET 1490 AM radio in Southern California. My name is Brian Wesley Johnson, and I'm so glad you're here. We have a fantastic show for you today. But before we get to that, I want to introduce my beautiful special friends and co-hosts, Sheila Applegate and Dr. Chanel DeGuzman. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
Good morning. I'm going to have to temper my joy and my excitement. I'm so
I,
happy to be back with you all.
I know we've missed you so much. It's like the family. We are family. Well, we've been talking offline. Dr. Chanel, I've got to let you go first in terms of like our little chit chat.
Yes.
You've got some exciting news to share around your family. What is that news specifically?
Yes. So some of the audience knows that my son has been at a tennis academy in Florida. He's graduating later this month. And so over the last 2 weeks, we have been pounding his decision on his college selection. And I'm happy to say on this Monday, May 1st, he made his decision, which was the deadline. And he has selected the University of Michigan right here in Ann Arbor.
Woohoo! Da,
So
da,
he will
da,
be
da, da,
home.
da, da,
Yes, he will be
da.
living on campus, but he will be home a crow's way, about 40 minutes from his home. And I can tell you, as we were talking, Brian and Sheila, it was a very pensive time over these last 2 weeks, very
Yeah,
full, but we're
yeah.
so proud of this young man for making the ultimate decision that was best for him. So
That's
That's
fantastic. Well,
awesome.
congratulations.
thank you so much.
Wow, that's going to be fantastic.
Yeah,
Man,
Yeah.
but
another Wolverine.
yep, and we'll be going to the games now again.
I know, right? Wow. Wow. I want to go. Can I go?
Yeah, absolutely,
All
Brian.
right, fantastic. Okay, cool. Sheila, what about you? I mean, we talked yesterday. We had a fantastic show yesterday.
Yeah.
But what's going on in your world?
Nothing as exciting as Dr. Chanel's
I
world.
know, right? I'm like kind of like, is there anything happening?
Thanks, guys.
Well, on that note, we've got some excitement for you, Sheila, with this show today. I want to go ahead and get this clip that we have for you to set up the show. But before we begin, I want to remind our audience, listen, we want your questions, your comments, your thoughts. Post them right here to our live chats on Facebook and YouTube, and we will get you into the conversation. We'll even post some of those comments or questions to our live feed so people can see what you are talking about. Um, this week on the Daily Show's After the Cut series, which airs on Comedy Central, show correspondent Duce Sloan was asked a specific question that stirred her to give an answer which went viral on social media. Let's take a listen.
What would you say your biggest challenge has been getting you to where you are currently?
Hope. People don't talk about how hard hope is. To live in that place where you're like, it's gonna happen tomorrow, it's gonna happen tomorrow, it's gonna happen tomorrow, is a very hard place for people because sometimes it lets you go, I quit. So I've been doing stand-up since 2009, but I've been acting since I was a kid. And I've been singing since I was a kid. And I have a theater degree. But y'all know me as a comic. So now all this work that I did, and I used to do musicals, I've done children's shows, I sang, I was in an improv group, I did all of these other things, but y'all know me as a comic and a correspondent on the show. So now all of these things I did since I was 7 years old, I have to now reintroduce everybody to. But if I had lost hope and didn't start, because I started doing stand-up because somebody told me I was a comic. It wasn't something that I chose to do. I just happened to be good at something, so someone saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. And so that was the biggest challenge for me to go, okay, I have a theater degree. I've never been on stage and been myself and said my own words. So getting into stand-up was one of the hardest things for me because I'd never been myself on stage. I knew how to perform. I knew how to find my light. I knew how to plant my feet. I knew all of the trappings. I'd done on stage 900-seat theater with no microphone and sang to the back of a room. I can perform, but not as me. So that was the hardest part of the whole process, going, okay, I have to be Dulce. I haven't done that before. So that was the hardest part into that. And also listening to my mother. Because a comic told me in 2007 that I should do stand-up, and I didn't listen to him. But I started when I was supposed to. You see what I'm saying? So you get things when you're supposed to, which is always hard to hear. But in 2009, and once again, on unemployment, look at God, and I was taking a sketch comedy class, and I got laid off from a job, and the comic Big Kenny is like, again, come take my stand-up class. And I was like, Unc, I don't have a job. I can't afford the $300 class. And he's like, you're supposed to do this. I won't charge you for the class. And then I couldn't decide what to do, and my mother told me, because Big Kenny had been inviting us to shows for 2 years. He's like, you have to do this, you have to do this. I was like, nah, I'm good. And then my mother came up to me one day before the class started, and she said she had a dream that the whole world was laughing at me. And she didn't understand what it meant. She was like, why are people laughing at my daughter? I don't understand what's going on. What did she do? And then she said she prayed on it, and she was like, oh, my daughter's a comedian. So because of my mother, and I didn't talk about this for a long time because he used to piss comics off. When I took a stand-up class, and my mother supported my choice to do stand-up. A lot of comics don't get that feedback from their family. And so I did it. And so May 12th will be my stand-up anniversary. And if someone can do math, that's what, 14, 15 years? Thank you, gracias. I went to school in Georgia, so I don't know what you want from me. But Gwinnett County, so I did okay, but I can't, the sixes and multiplication are funky. And so, yeah, on the 12th, it'll be 14 years, but either a lot of things from just like, I'm not sure. I moved to LA with suitcases. I moved here with suitcases, and now I'm moving, and it's like, so now you have to just go, I will be okay. But for me, the hardest part is hoping is I want to be a mother and have children, and I don't have that in my life. So the same hope that I applied to work, I now have to figure out to apply to this other thing. And that's even harder. Because I knew what to do to be successful in my career. I don't know how to hog tie some man. So yeah, the hardest part of any of this is hope. Because you have to believe in you more than anybody else. And you have to love you more than anybody else.
Woo! So yeah, we're talking about hope today, y'all.
Yeah.
It is a challenge and an opportunity, and just want to go around and get your first reactions, ladies. I'll go to you first, Dr. Chanel.
Thank you, Brian. Would you mind if I at least share a definition of hope?
Sure, go for it.
Okay, because I needed the grounding for myself, because I'll be honest with you all, I'm not as in touch with hope. So we'll tease this out.
I don't think a lot of people are
Right.
either.
Yes. So let's start with the definition. So the definition of hope is defined as a feeling of expectation and a desire for a certain thing to happen. So you're holding on to something, or with earnest anticipation. You want something to happen.
Yeah.
So my initial thoughts, first of all, this is honestly my first encounter with Dulce.
Yeah.
And you can tell, yeah, she has definitely clinged on to her hope, which has gotten her to continue to take a step after step, not knowing the outcome. And so I appreciate her journey, as well as the fact that what really gravitated for me was that she was the first time that she said she heard her own words, and that she was the first time, in terms of being a comedic, a comic, is that she was the first time able to be herself. So the journey of hope gave her those very valuable, tangible things or intangible things of being yourself. I can't think of a greater gift than that. But I will say that I do have a little bit of a disconnect with hope because I am used to making things happen for myself. If I want something, I usually make it happen. So
Mhm.
I know we'll
Mhm.
tease this apart, Brian and
Yeah.
Sheila. So, Sheila, go ahead.
We're not as far off as you would think with this. I
Yeah.
think I was kind of like, when I heard it, I didn't hear the question, and she started talking, and I'm like, wait, what? Hope is her hardest thing. And then as she spoke, I was like, yeah, that makes sense. And I
Mhm.
started to think about what I feel the energy of hope is. And in the manifestation process, it is an important piece because it's sort of like our present self is
Mhm.
envisioning what we want our future self to experience, and then kind of holding that out there as maybe a carrot to reach to the next space.
Right.
And then at the same time, there's a point, and she nails it in here. There's a point of surrender where you may have that hope and think you know where and how it's going to unfold. And then an opportunity comes up that seems outside of that, but you take it, and that's what reaches you to that original space that you were looking for.
Mm. 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 It's funny. I think my first reaction was, yeah. When she said hope, I was like, it almost kind of stopped me in my tracks because I think people were going to talk. I think she was going to talk about like the challenges that she has as a woman of color, being on this
Mm,
being on this show, doing doing all these things, and the fact that she said hope was just kind of like blew me away. Like, yeah, because that's the being, right?
right.
You have to embody this beingness of what you want to create in your life first, and then you're attracted to do the things that you need to do so you can have the life that you want. And so, like Dr. Chanel, when you were talking about the fact that, hey, when I want something, I just go out and create it, that's a very beautiful thing because I think that you're able to embody what that feels like for you immediately, which is
Mhm.
a fantastic thing, you
Mhm,
know.
mhm,
Um, and I think what she said is like in her professional life, she's had to go through the process of learning how to do that, which is something I think that all of us need to do.
mhm,
Listen, we're going to take a quick break.
mhm.
And when we come back, we'll be sharing some times in our own lives where maybe it was difficult for us to hope. So when we come back, we're going to talk more about hope, a challenge, and an opportunity on This Morning with Solivity in just a second. Hey there, this is Brian with Soulivity.com. I want to share some exciting news about our new Aspire Academy by Soulivity. Now, you probably want to know what the Aspire Academy by Solivity is. Well, it exclusively connects you with people around the globe and who share the intense desire to improve themselves and create a better life for themselves today. There's classes, there's workshops, there's live events, and even more exclusively just for you. You see, I wanted you to have a safe space where you could grow, you can learn, and it would empower you in all aspects of your life, including your mind, your body, and your soul. So how do you get started? Well, it is so easy. First of all, the best part, joining Aspire Academy is absolutely free. Just click on the Join Now button, sign up, and begin your journey. As a special part of this invitation to you, there are some free courses that are available for you to try from our amazing roster of coaches and collaborators. It's our way of saying thank you for all of your support and being with us along our journey of expansion. I hope you enjoyed the Aspire Academy by Soulivity today. Start the process. Learn more about your passion, your purpose, and how to live a higher quality life. And we're back with more of This Morning with Solivity. I'm joined today by Sheila Applegate and Dr. Chanel DeGuzman. We are talking about hope today. I think we don't talk about this enough. And so we're going to talk about it here. Sheila, do you remember any times in your life where, like Dulce, where you've had to like hope your way through some things?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, there's, 3 areas of my life that pop into my mind. And the first one being when I was a young mom, and I was
Wow.
going through a life-threatening illness that they really didn't have the treatment plans for yet because it was newer. And it was hope, it was that determination hope. And that's one time when it was like the hope, the desire to be there for my kids, and the hope was there to support me.
Right.
But also it was also a lack of surrender. Like at some point I had to surrender to the idea of dying and be okay with that.
Yeah. Wow.
And as soon as I did that, I started to heal. I healed.
Wow.
So, and I see that like when, in relationships, and also very much in my career as an entrepreneur from back at that time through, where I would, keep moving forward, like Dulce said, with that hope, and doing the next thing and doing the next thing. And I was successful along the way, but it was the time where I decided to make my, to run my business on joy, to make my choices about what to do based on joy, which is a level of surrender in itself that moved things into the space that they are now, which is that success that I was hoping for.
Wow. Amazing. Amazing. What about you, Dr. Chanel?
Okay, so I had one example, but when Sheila was talking, you made me think of something else when I actually surrendered. And I'm going to be a little personal in sharing that initially my husband and I, after I, went to graduate school, I got the PhD. So now we're going to have kids, right?
Right.
I can make that happen, right? And lo and behold, it didn't happen. And I'm thinking, okay, what's going on here? Da, 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 da. So we finally go and we get some assistance with IVF, where you get assistance in fertilization, basically. And so we did, have a pregnancy. Actually, we ended up pregnant with twins. And we were advanced in our age, so that is why we also got the assistance. But unfortunately, just to be serious here, we did lose one baby at 7 weeks, and then we lost the baby at 8 weeks. Of course, I was, devastated. We're both devastated. It took time to recover from that. So then, Sheila, I let go and completely surrendered to the fact of, okay, this is out of my hands completely.
Right.
Other than the obvious that we can do, this is beyond us. And I let it go. As soon, Sheila, as I let it go, I got pregnant.
Wow.
Right.
As soon as I got pregnant. And then to take this in terms of the hope discussion, all along, when Gary and I got married, we both wanted a boy first and we wanted a girl second. Whatever we wanted, and we only wanted the boy and the girl. And lo and behold, we never found out the sex of our babies. But I did have hope that I was going to have a boy first and a girl second. And sure enough, we had a boy.
Ta-da!
Say, well, how could we ever have another child? You bring this one child in, you have to give this child all your love. How can you bring another one in? So we got to the point where, okay, we can have another one. We did get pregnant again. Didn't know I was going to have the girl. And I looked down and there's a little girl.
Wow.
That was the first time, honestly, with you saying that, Sheila, that I realized that I surrendered, I let go, and I did hope. I was hoping that little boy. I was hoping to get the little girl. I didn't peek and look. We didn't peek and look, and we did get what we wanted.
Wow. You know, it's funny how all three of us have had experiences that have to do with our bodies. Mine also had to do with a health challenge that I went through where literally spirit came to me and asked, "Are you ready to go?" I was in the hospital. I had what I didn't know was I had this raging infection that was going through my body. I was getting closer and closer to what would be considered sepsis. And I said, no, I'm not ready to go. And at that point, I had to just turn to like, I'm not ready to go. If I go, it'll be God's will. But I'm not ready to go. There's things that I want to do. And I had to go into hope. Just pure hope. And again, it's that release, right? That release of an outcome. And what was interesting about this, while we still have time till our next break, was up until that point, the doctors, the hospital that I was at could only get me stable. They did not have the medical staff that could actually diagnose what was going on with me. They didn't have the specialist that was available. And the day that happened, because I had gone into ICU and had come out of ICU, and this is the question that came to me at that point. That next morning, the regular doctor that had been on the weekends wasn't there. This is new doctor. And this doctor basically was friends with the specialist in the Texas Medical Center and is world renowned specifically for the condition that I was having. And basically helped me find another doctor, go to this doctor. And from that point, it led me to recovery.
Wow.
Thank
And
God.
yeah. Oh, thank you. And so, I think hope does play a role to play. And so why don't we talk about the importance, right? And because I think that, again, we don't talk about this enough. And I think when we don't talk about these things, we just kind of take it for granted that, oh, well, things will just be whatever. And so we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we'll talk more about the importance of hope.
Have you ever asked the question, if I was to be anything, what would I be? Regardless of money, regardless of status, beyond popularity and fame. Living your passion, feeling your life has purpose. Solivity is a space to nurture that which lives in all of us. A place where work can become play, and doing what we love creates the dreams of a lifetime.
And we're back with more of This Morning with Soulivity. We're talking about hope. You gotta have hope. I think that's a song.
There's got to be a line in some song.
Exactly, right? It's got to be there. You know me. One aspect of this that I want to kind of ask you guys about something that I think that makes hope so important. Both of you kind of talked about this, and that is that hope kind of leads towards surrender.
Mhm.
And then I
Mhm.
also thought that another aspect of this that hope is the bridge for is faith.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
you know, Dr. Chanel, you brought in the definition of hope. I'm going to just give this quick definition of faith, and that is um, complete trust or confidence in someone or something. So I think that once we get to a point of surrender, we can now have faith that good will come into our lives the way that it was meant to be.
Mhm.
Right? What do you guys think? What do you both think about that?
It's interesting because I was thinking of the two myself. And I do think there is a subtle I mean, there's a difference between hope and faith.
Right.
And when you have them together, or you use that hope to reach that place of surrender, because you can have faith in
Right.
yourself, but I think faith also holds up to faith in something more, like you plus
Right.
more, whether that, a
Right.
benevolence of such.
Right.
Where hope, I don't think, is either giving that power to hope the right thing, or hoping that some situation will appear and that will give you what you need. So there's like a subtle difference in that, to me, that I do think they go together, and maybe hope is the bridge to faith.
Sheila, I think you're right. I think hope is the bridge to faith. And Brian, I also looked up the definition of faith, and I think we were reading from the same definition. And yes, I think that, and actually, I read something where it says that hope is the soil in which we exercise our faith. So hope is the
Mm,
soil in which we exercise our faith. And it's that reliance on something outside of ourselves, like maybe in all of our cases, the reliance on God.
Mhm.
mhm,
Mhm.
Also, having that conviction, that commitment. And have I had to really start thinking about, how do I tease apart hope and faith? And
Right. Right.
I do think that they are somewhat interchangeable, but they are also distinct. And then, in the Bible, it does say faith, hope, and love. Did I get that right?
mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So hope is right next to faith.
Right.
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 Right. Right.
Did And then I also read just a quick example where, like if the father tells the little boy, we're going to go to Disney World, right? Or we're going to some amusement park. So that child, because he trusts his father, he believes that they're going. Like, there's not
Mhm.
doubt that they're going. But then maybe the hope is more like that anticipation, like, oh my God, we're going. I do hope we are going. And it's expressed in irrepressible joy.
Yeah.
Like, so the sounds of his squealing about going can maybe be akin to the hope, but then the trust is that faith that he has in his father. And just like, how we have our faith in God and so forth.
Yeah. I really love, and it felt like as you were talking, it even brought it out deeper for me. Like, I do feel like hope is a beautiful thing, and it has to do with us placing our desires, but there's fear involved in hope, right? There is a bit
Right.
of fear.
Right.
So it is that bridge. And once you move past that fear, you're into that trust.
Right. Yeah, that was one aspect of what Dulce was saying in terms of the challenge, right? Because I think hope brings forward to you the fear that you have about is whatever your desire is, right? What if this doesn't happen? What is the unknown? What will happen to me? All those kinds of things. And that hope brings that front and center,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that you have to cross that bridge of hope to get to the faith part, which is I believe not only in myself, but what God, spirit, the universe, whatever you want to call it, whatever that plan is for me, which is always, in my experience, which is always for your best and highest good. Always.
Right. Mhm.
Absolutely, Brian. And I want to just throw out when we lose hope.
That's where I was going to.
Yeah.
Good to-
Like, well, I wasn't really conscious of hope. So I'll give you a quick example. I wrote a book. It's called Come Back to Yourself, Love Life, Live Free. And when I wrote the book, I ended up, after I published it, or actually before I published it, I left my job and I was wanting to leave my job. So I left the job, published the book. The book did all right. I got speaking engagements, was doing great, was doing coaching. And then the book sales kind of died out. And so now I've left my job and it's like, oh my gosh. And so I got to the point where I was really ready to throw in the towel. Literally,
Wow.
I wasn't conscious of the hope, but I literally just was ready to just say, okay, there's nothing else I can do. I have no more money. I don't have a job. There's no more book sales coming in. And I remember laying on my bed one night, just ready to throw in the towel. This was what my consciousness was. And I got a phone call from then, which would be my future boss. But the moment I surrendered and said, I'm kind of finished, I'm done. There's nothing else I can do. So I really did lose hope at that point. Even though I wasn't conscious of the hope, I threw in the towel, which to me means I lost my hope.
Right.
Mm.
That, see, that I was just going to say about like hopelessness is when it is that giving up, that you throw in the towel, and it can lead to despair and it can lead to lack of action. And I think that's what we think of a lot of times. But the other side of that is it's freedom and it's an opportunity to let the next thing happen. I have a friend and client who was talking recently about this moment where they had felt this, like they no longer had hope for humanity. And
Wow.
but the incredible thing is that their whole body relaxed and they started to, when they weren't trying to make, when they weren't hoping for humanity to be a certain way, they started to, after a little bit of process, really enjoy life and let it show up as it is more, because they weren't hoping that we get it right. And I think a lot of us can feel that right now, right? Like when we really are like, oh man, this is wrong, let's hope that it gets better.
Right.
It's pressure too.
Right.
So it's a fascinating thing. Yeah.
I love this. I'm thinking about a movie that I watched a long time ago, but I'm going to talk about it on the next break. The next break. So we're going to take a quick break, everybody, and we'll be back with more of This Morning with Solivity.
6 years ago, when I started Solivity, my vision was to support everyone in improving their life through the discovery of their passion and purpose, so they could become the best version of themselves, to battle fear and ignorance, and create a better world today. Get inspired to live your passion and purpose. Visit Soulivity.com now.
Told you that'd be quick. We're talking about hope, and we're talking now about not only the importance of hope, but how we can use it to improve our lives. And I was thinking about, did either one of you see the movie When Dreams May Come with Robin Williams? And
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I think so.
It's an older movie.
It's an older movie. And it I won't give the whole, because it's a very powerful movie on quote unquote the afterlife in terms of a certain aspect of that. But there was a part of the movie where he died and went into the afterlife and was going through the learning process of all of that. And also his wife actually committed suicide because she had gone into despair during her life because of her children, I think both of her children died either in some way or another, and then he died, and she was all alone. And they basically had this metaphysical representation of that she took that into her afterlife, and because she had not learned the lesson yet of moving out of despair into hope again. And so he actually in the afterlife went and found her and decided, listen, I'm in love with this woman. I've always been in love with this woman. If this is where she is, this is where I'm going to be. And the fact that he was selfless in that act woke her up, because she was like, this is mine. I can't have my love of my life feel the way that I feel. And so she turned to hope, which transformed everything. And then they went into this beautiful scene, which was just like, wow. It was like, tears coming down my face and all that kind of thing. But I think the greater message of that was that something that you said, Sheila, and that is that there's always an opportunity to choose differently, and an opportunity to, if you are even in despair, to recognize that you're in despair, and then that gives you another opportunity to choose.
Right.
And you can shift at any moment in time, which I think that's important. I think that's what all of us experienced in our stories, right? Where we could have chosen despair in those situations, but we decided, even though it might have been hard, we might have been fearful, that we decided differently. So what do you guys think about that?
Well, first of all, I want to do a shout out to Barnett Bain, my friend, who was the creator of that movie.
Really? Sweet.
And an amazingly conscious person who's continually bringing new brilliance into our world. And I also want to tell everyone that, Brian told you that he wouldn't give you the whole plot, and it might sound like he did, but it's so much beauty and
my God,
experience.
Yeah.
So still watch it. It's so much more than the plot he gave you.
Oh man. Yeah. That's not even a tenth of what it is. Oh man. What are you feeling now, Chanel?
Well, it just takes me back to when I was, in that place of surrender, laying on the bed. I had no fear. There wasn't anything. Like, I was sort of almost I'm not going to say a fetal position, but I was definitely curled up. Like, I don't know what to do, so I'm just going to lie here. So I wasn't envisioning what the next step was. I wasn't envisioning that there might be possibilities. I didn't see anything, but I now realize that, and there's godly intervention. There is divine order, divine time. So there was an intervention, and I know God was sending me my lifeline at that point. And so maybe we'll also talk a little bit about, well, what do you do maybe when you don't have hope, and I don't know, we haven't really talked about necessarily the benefits of hope, but I'll just share, because now I realize, it can improve your coping mechanisms, right?
Absolutely.
A little light to hold on and to cling on until something changes, because nothing can stay the same. Something is going to change eventually. And then it also helps us with our well-being, and also, just engaging in more healthy behaviors. And this is some research from Harvard as well, Brian. It talks about protecting us against depression and having a sense of purpose. Once we can cling on to the hope, once we get the glimmer of hope and being able to find joy and comfort, like you talked about, Sheila, even in your pain, you're then finding the joy in the serenity, in the comfort, that it brings. And so hope is an essential part of our well-being as well.
Absolutely. Let's talk quickly while we have time about, like, how do you get from A to Z? How do you get to hope? Sheila, what's like one thing that you would recommend?
Well, jumping off of what Dr. Chanel said, that, hopelessness can lead to hope, and that surrendering into it, I call it effing surrender. So don't be hard on yourself if you're there. But
Right.
I think hope can also start with belief. Like you can choose to believe that the future is going to be better.
Right.
I mean, like we wouldn't worry about our environment, or we don't worry about environment unless we hope that it will be here for the generations to come,
Right.
that there is a way. So I think being in touch with yourself, and if you feel hopeless, let yourself feel hopeless and let that be an opportunity for something to come in, or reach out and find something. For me, it's always looking at the younger generations. The younger generations always bring me hope, no matter what.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Dr. Chanel, what's one thing for you?
The one thing for me, Brian, would be gratitude.
Oh.
Practicing
Mm.
gratitude, I think, will keep us
Snaps.
grounded and
Snaps.
keep us present so that we don't slip too far into hopelessness, but appreciating what we do have. So I did have a home. I had a bed to lie in.
Mhm.
We have breath, we have light and life in us. And so whatever you can look around in your immediate surroundings and grab and gravitate to that gratitude, that might be that initial additional energy, that additional source that can help you envision new possibilities or start to come up with a game plan to take a different approach to whatever situation you might find yourself.
Absolutely. And my one thing for people is this: do number one and number two. That's Sheila's advice, and then Dr. Chanel's advice. And then couple both of those with this one exercise. Get, in your journal or in a notebook, write all the things that you don't want in your life. Write a line, write a list of 10. That's one column. In the next column, write all the things that you do want that are basically the opposite of what those things are. And then in the third column, I want you to write what feeling those things that you want represent.
Nice.
And then go into meditation and feel the feelings. Allow yourself to feel all those things. Like look at one and go into that feeling, and go into in the next one, and the next one, and the next one, and the next one. Using everything that we've said today, that will allow you to shift out of hopelessness into hope. I almost guarantee it. And if you're still having trouble, do it again the next day, and the next day, and the next day, and do not commit to just doing those things. Okay? Just commit to doing those 3 things that we've said today. And I think write in your journal what happens over 30 days of doing that.
And then tell us.
And then tell us, right? Come to, it's Solivity at Soulivity.com. Send us some notes and let us know how you're doing with some of these things, right? Because we want to make sure that we're supporting you. Listen, we're going to take another really quick break. And when we come back, we'll have some final thoughts from everyone. So we'll be right back.
Have you ever asked the question, if I was to be anything, what would I be? Regardless of money, regardless of status, beyond popularity and fame. Living your passion, feeling your life has purpose. Solivity is a space to nurture that which lives in all of us. A place where work can become play, and doing what we love creates the dreams of a lifetime.
And we'll go to final thoughts. Dr. Chanel?
Yes, thank you, Brian. I'm going to quote Reverend Jesse Jackson in his campaign, Keep Hope Alive. Keep hope alive. And what I mean by that, and especially for me, Brian, is I'm going to be more conscious of activating my hope. and I'm going to parlay it with faith.
Wow.
And so keep hope alive and reach out if you need help, and we'll talk more about that.
Thank you so much for that. Sheila?
I think that's beautiful. I would just say that as you're keeping hope alive, turn to other people. And there's an enhancement in community, and we can be that hope for other people, and we can allow other people to be the hope for us.
Wow. Phew. I just want to say like ditto for both those as my final thoughts. As we were talking, one quote that came to my mind, something that my parents would always tell me about, and that which kind of shift me out of where I was a quote by Albert Einstein. And he said, "No problem can be solved from the same level of consciousness that created it." So if you are in a situation in your life where you feel hopeless, or you're wanting more, or you're feeling okay, but you want more in your life, that you have to expand your consciousness to allow that thing or that experience to come into your life. That you grow through evolution, and as you evolve, your life experiences expand, and you have this greater feelings of joy, love, support, and everything else. So just remember that hope is part of that process. Hope is a bridge to faith, which is a bridge to doing the things that you need to do, and then having the life that you want to have, which is an expansion of what you were previously experiencing. Just like Dulce is now the correspondent on The Daily Show because of what her mother said to her a long time ago. You need to be a comic, and that led and opened the door to a whole bunch of other things. So fantastic. Oh my goodness. We can just keep going on this one.
And I know we will after the show. So
right. And again, we want to hear about how you're doing, and what do you think about the things that we are saying today? So please, even after the show, if you want to email us at Solivity@solivity.com, we would love to hear from you. Why don't we go to some things that we're offering to kind of support people in having that best life, and moving into hope, and then faith, and then creating that life. So Dr. Chanel, you talked a little bit about this fantastic book that you just wrote. We got this in the chat as well. Can you tell us a little bit more about it?
absolutely. And so, Brian, this is the book that I wrote when I left my employer about 5 years ago, but it's called Come Back to Yourself, Love Life, Live Free. And it really helps us to ground us to come back to that original source of love, of light, before we got all bogged down with this external world and all that it entices us with and gets us bogged down with. So coming back to that pure sense of who you really are and what you're really intended to do really emanates from the inside. So come back to yourself, love life, live free. You can also pick it up on Amazon.
Sweet. I love it. And you've got like coaching sessions going on as well.
Exactly. So I just did you all a 2-day women's leadership workshop. And so, if you're a woman out there and you are having difficulty being able to hold crucial conversations, or you don't know how to handle conflict, you don't know how to say no, and you need a little assistance, I definitely offer a complimentary coaching session so we can help level up your leadership. So reach out to me and I'm happy to provide that service for you.
Woo-hoo-hoo. I'm loving it. And Sheila, you've got some amazing things happening, including a workshop coming up with Helena Goldstein.
Yes, we're doing the Infuse Your Finances with Joy workshop on Aspire Academy, which is going to be really exciting. That is coming up on the 13th of May. And before that, on May 8th, I have the Matrix of Illumination on Aspire. And we're going to be focused on Beltane and spring and the goddess energy of Magdalene. So I feel like there's a lot of hope in that energy, and we'll come together and do a meditation and bringing in some messages from the divine. And then I also am doing a masterclass it releases on the 10th, And that's Soul Love, the new paradigm of partnership.
Fantastic. And
Rich.
I know I'm going to make sure that I have all these beautiful links in our chat so that people can like learn more. And I highly recommend that people just, take the leap, take the leap and check out some of these things, because you won't regret getting new information from people that have gone through things that you have gone through, and can support you in getting to that next level in your life. Wow. It's always so bittersweet when the show comes to an end. I want it just to like last forever. Thank you both for your wisdom. It never ceases to amaze me doing these shows every week, how everyone who's part of Solivity has so much to offer. And I'm totally grateful for that. So thank you, both of you.
Absolutely.
And thank you. This was a fun show.
Yeah, right.
Great topic too.
Well, that's that hope working.
Right?
Wait a minute. Hope springs eternal.
Yeah.
See there? I love that. Listen, this is how we do it every weekday. We want you to join us, every single weekday. So please, follow us on our mailing list. You can receive some exclusive content and heads up for like things like our giveaways that are going to be starting up pretty soon. Also, please, thank you for being here and supporting us in providing these shows every single weekday. Listen, please come back and join us at 8 a.m. Monday through Friday, and on KMET 1490 AM every Thursday and Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific time for all of you guys on the West Coast. So thank you again. Until next time, keep on having real conversations with passion and purpose, and create that life full of high quality living. I mean, high quality living today with hope, faith, and love. Talk to you guys soon. Bye.
This work is subject to copyright owned by Affinity Global LLC. Any reproduction or republication of all or part of this is expressly prohibited unless Affinity Global LLC has explicitly granted its prior written consent. All other rights reserved.